everybody, and welcome back to Destiny 2, where I'm going to talk about Renegades, because it's been about 2 weeks since it's been out, and I feel like the grace period for me to be able to talk about the campaign and some more story-based spoilers is pretty good. For games, I'm a little bit more lenient about talking about spoilers a little bit after the release, in terms of, like, how many days. Movies, I'm a little bit more... I'm trying to get better and not talking about them too soon. That's why I haven't done a video on FNAF 2 yet. It's other than just talking about it in the Maddox video that I've seen it and I enjoyed it. Because I'm starting to at least try and not talk too much about heavy spoilerly stuff, just kind of in terms of stuff that's very important to the plot. But I digress. Let's talk about Renegades, because Renegades is probably my favorite campaign of Destiny history. And I will say there was probably some bias involved due to the fact that multiple different factors. One being I obviously did do it with my fiance together. We did as a duo the entire campaign in like 8 hours on Legendary. And we also did do... it was also just generally, I'm a bit massive Star Wars nerd and Star Wars fan, so I will say there's probably some bias on that front as well. But I will still say that even given that, I still think it is a very enjoyable and overall amazing experience that I would not have traded for anything else. It is better than Edge of Fate, for sure, and I would say it is better than some of the weaker Legendary campaigns of the past, i.e. Lightfall. Because it's the only really bad one, in my opinion, is Lightfall is not amazing. It's good, just not amazing. There's one mission in particular I'm thinking of in Lightfall that's very annoying. Edge of Fate and Renegades really didn't have those, at least to my knowledge, other than maybe like the final mission on Edge of Fate.
I believe the nearby Vex constructs
But let's talk about the meat and potatoes of it all, that being the power that is the Renegades expansion as a whole. Let's start off by talking about just generally the kind of story-based stuff involving our boy Dredgen Bale. I think Dredgen Bale is very well written, and despite the fact that I at least it took a lot more from the sequels, a lot of the little references and stuff to the other pieces of Star Wars media was very nice. Examples being just some of the cosmetics that are available in the game, especially that released with Renegades, are all very themed around the Mandalorian. Obviously we had the Legend set that came with the launch of with the pre-order bonus, that being Darth Vader, General Grievous, and Kylo Ren for ornaments. You also have obviously a Stormtrooper, the I want to say it's considered called a Dark Trooper, but like the black Stormtrooper outfit, and then the Imperial Royal Guard when it was first announced in final shape. I don't want to say episode Heresy or episode Revenant, one of those. We have a lot going on there. And overall, a lot of the cosmetics and stuff that we also obtained are very nice, and that's not even necessarily to detract from anything. And I'm not one to necessarily buy all cosmetics, but will say I did buy so many ornaments of the lightsaber, because it's a lightsaber, guys! You think I'm not gonna spend money on the lightsaber? I use white, if you're curious. I use I think right now the one I have equipped is the King. Yeah, I have King's Blade with the white crystal, because I really like the white crystal. Because, if you don't know, one of my favorite characters is Ahsoka. For no reason other than the fact that I think she's one of the most well-written characters in modern Star Wars that isn't in a, movie. If I ever say alpha movie, it would be Kylo Ren. Unfortunately, I haven't done any innovation-based content, because I'm terrified of it. That being said, though, let's talk about Dredgen Bale, because I kind of went a little bit more off the rails there, talking about stuff that I like that are cosmetic-based and require you to spend money. Dredgen Bale is a very well-written character because he has a genuinely really good motive and purpose of existing in terms of what his motivation is to continue doing what he's doing, yet somehow he has a better written story than a lot of Edge of Fate. And it's still very, very interesting to see a character like Dredgen Bale be put at the forefront of the story and not even be necessarily the main villain of the story. Because the main villain is Six, which is one of the members of the Nine, represented by Saturn. But even then, the fact that Bale is effectively a vessel for Six, and basically that whole story, I won't go in detail, watch a Byte video if you want to learn more about that, because I am a lore nerd, I like learning about the lore, I'm not one to talk about it, so... If you want more detail, watch a Byte video on that one. But overall, Dredgen Bale is a very interesting character, and I think overall, he's very fun to basically hear talk. Both, not just because he's a very interesting character and voiced by Alex Lee, who voices Daredevil in Marvel Rivals, but he is just generally a very, very fun character because he's a inherently flawed character that is doing things for the wrong reason, with the basically being told to do them because this is what he thinks is right, a la Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, Kylo Ren, Ben Solo. That being said, one critique I do have of Dredgen Bale is that I feel like there was a missed opportunity to have him be more of a forefront as an opponent. But given the fact that he is effectively a vessel for Six and basically embodying the power that is a vessel, and basically have been torn apart by said power, because one line he basically says the parts have been ripped out and replaced with metal, that being I believe tungsten, if my lore memory serves me correctly, is just generally really compelling. And I think Dredgen Bale as a character is very compelling. Now we go on to the main villain of the ending mission, that being Premier Loom, being the lead of the Baron Imperium, which has gotten all the time in the world to basically do what it's been doing, thanks to the Nine, basically making a pocket dimension for them to basically have their time dilation, allow their technology to progress faster, because obviously time dilation, if you don't know what that means, basically if you are sent into a different realm of space where time moves differently to the main world, it means that if you do, think hyperlock time chamber in DBZ, or just general space travel, a day in space is going to be more or less than a day on the planet you're normally from. So, example, in the hyperbolic time chamber, an entire year in the hyperbolic time chamber is only 24 hours in the actual real world. Similarly, if you're in space, if you're in orbit around Earth, a day in orbit is roughly, I think, a day and a half on Earth. I don't remember the exact wording, but it's time in space and is just very wibbly wobbly, if you will, or timey wimey, if you prefer. That being said, though, overall, I say that the Baron Imperium as an enemy force is very terrifying, if only because of the fact that they are incredibly technologically advanced for Cabal, because we even hear that their adaptive shielding that they have that basically allows them to have that effective regenning overshield that they have is early technology from Kaido's Legion, and we know Premier Loom was I think a Brachus Loom, and obviously he's since made his own coalition of Cabal, so he's been effectively promoted. So, a lot of very compelling story there, and he's kind of meant to be our General Hux / Grand Moff Tarkin type character. If anything, he's also kind of akin to Darth Vader in a way as well, because of the way his tech on his body works. And I think overall is a very compelling character. Now we move on to the thing that I want to talk about, that I knew was going to happen, given the fact that we've had it in the lore for a while, but I was like, oh my god, they're actually doing this story for the Star Wars DLC, that being Nightfall Station. Nightfall Station is your your Death Star analog. What does Nightfall Station do? Well, spoiler alert, it is able to harness the power of antimatter, or dark matter, in this case, to effectively cause anyone who can wield the power of the light or the darkness, and basically make them no longer compatible with life. And by that I mean, they basically just become vaporized. And it's only, at least from what we can tell, presumably, affects Guardians who have a ghost. There's a lot more detail that I will probably, that I will say that Bife mentions in a video that he uploaded fairly recently. That can kind of imply that it wouldn't work on a character like Zavala, but it would work on a character like, it would work on characters like the Guardian, as well as characters like Richter and, it wouldn't work on like Eris. But it could work on Eris, but it also could work on Osiris. It's weird. There's a whole thing about it. Overall, though, very interesting story, very cool weapon, and the final mission obviously takes place on that weapon, or us trying to take care of that weapon. And we obviously have a moment in the final campaign that's very trench runny, or even more akin to Episode 6 flying into the Star to destroy the power core. And it is probably one of my favorite sequences in the entire campaign, if only because it is absolutely insanely reminiscent of Episode 6 and 4, and I absolutely love those movies to death. As much as I do say I like the sequels a little bit more than other people do, the original trilogy's classic. I can't deny it. It's just too classic not to say it's not good. But I'm going to now bring up something very important. That is going to be a couple of things that I disliked. And that being said, very few things I disliked about this campaign. One, I think the pacing was a little bit all over the place. And the constant back and forth to effectively vendors did get a bit tiresome at times. But I will say at least it wasn't too bad in comparison to other stuff we've had in seasonal stories. As well as, I think the syndicates are very fun. The whole Tharsis Reformation, that's personally what I represent, in terms of the one I chose first. I did Tharsis Reformation because, one, it gives one of the better Praxic Blade mods, and two, it is just generally speaking, I like Vex. I usually tend to lean towards Vex. If not Vex, I lean Hive. So, there's that. And overall, Tharsis as a whole, amazing place. It feels very reminiscent of Mos Eisley, but it also has a lot of reminiscent of Soros Outlaws, this home planet that you start on, and I don't remember what the name of it is, unfortunately, off the top of my head. I need to finish that game, honestly. I whiffed that a little too soon. But overall, again, I think this story is probably one of the best. I think the environments and the world building is great. Honor Mahal, and I think I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Honor Mahal. Great character, voiced by Dawn Bennett, I believe is how you pronounce her name. I really hope so. That's how it's spelled. Who voiced a character, I believe, Aegis in Persona 3 Reload, and she also voices Kale / Kefla in DBZ Super, or Dragon Ball Super. One of my personal favorite characters in Super, honestly. Not just because they're a woman, by the way. I just generally like their character design, as well as just generally how their personality is portrayed. It's very fun. And overall, again, probably very solid character writing. Obviously, we have Drifter coming in after the events of Edge of Fate. We also have Eris as the Hive God of Vengeance, being the absolute god that she is, quite literally. We obviously have Ido coming in to make a little bit of more be relevant to the story again, because we love our little precious Ido. And then obviously, most importantly, we have ourselves Blue, Drifter's ghost, who has by far some of the best voice acting in the entirety of Destiny. I will take no substitute. Please give us more of this, Bungie, because her character writing is amazing and hilarious. If you haven't played it already, please, if you are someone who normally doesn't play with voice on, please play with voice on, because Blue is probably the best character in the entire DLC, unironically, in terms of the friendly characters. Because she has, like, this New York / Jersey accent, and it's absolutely amazing. It's almost like just general, like, New England-y accent, and it's amazing. And it's just very funny. As somebody who lives in the New England area, it's great, and she's just overall hilarious. And I'm very happy to see more of these characters, because you know the Shadow of War, I think, is what the next kind of pseudo mini expansion update's called. So I'm excited to see what we get from that. But overall, just generally very, very excited to see where the story takes us next.
They still die when you shoot them.
Practical as ever.
And
but if they achieve invulnerability in
overall,
one
I will. I'm
simulation,
gonna turn my
of their
face in my game sound out
existence
so I
will
don't
be
have to
threatened.
listen to it. But overall, I would say the story of Renegades is very solid. Now, on for the actual genuine critiques that I just generally disliked. Obviously the back and forth, not great. Not really a big fan of that. Honestly, I'm not. I understand why it has to be done, because sometimes you need to be able to move the plot forward in some way, and it has to be done in a way that makes it more in line. I do wish it was voice acted in the same vein of older seasonal stuff, But the dialogue trees, at least, are good and better than just it happening off screen, you know? Regardless, though, I will say one other critique I have that is incredibly minor, is going to be the fact that they very much require you to do the, I forget what they're called, the Lawless Frontiers, basically all of this, near constantly. Now, mind you, I don't mind that. I really don't. I think it is reasonable to at least make us do them, because it's part of the new content. I just think it's an over-reliance on it, and it's a little, just a tiny bit annoying. But overall, I think this entire thing is very nice. Obviously, you can see here, Equilibrium is out. I haven't touched it yet. I kind of know roughly how it works. Obviously, we're going to talk about that in a moment. I'm going to have a whole separate tangent on that. I just think the over-reliance on it is a little bit annoying, albeit I understand why. Although, I will at least give one very important thing that I will say as a aside, that being, I do enjoy the story of Renegades heavily. And especially, I enjoy the fact of how well written it is, given the fact that it's Star Wars DLC. I just don't like the over-reliance on older things that have already gotten kind of old. But we're going to talk about the Praxic Blade now, because I like the Praxic Blade. It makes me happy. I'm actually going to use it for this entire next mission I'm going to do, because it's so cool. How do you look at this? Actually, I'm using the blue blade right now, but I usually was using white or gradient. I want to get purple really badly. I want to get Madrid very badly. But I also need to do like all of these, and obviously I need to get this. I also need to get this. And I also need to do Praxic Special, which I have, as you can see. It's very difficult. And I also need to use the Catalyst as well. But that's a whole different thing. But let us hop into another thing. I'm actually gonna attempt to do a pinnacle thing, I think. Yeah, we're gonna do a pinnacle thing. I'm gonna do, I wish you always had one of the queuable arena things available. But you can't, because why would you? Also, notably, I noticed Midtown's unavailable. I wonder why. I'm actually not going to do that. I'm going to do Arena Quick Play, I think. Cause actually, no, I was on Fireteam Quick Play. That's what it was. So one more and I get the Fireteam Ops gear and all that. But the Praxic Blade is the coolest thing that ever had in this DLC, and overall, in fact, I'll just straight up talk about this as well. All the weapons that are basically the laser weapons, so the heat weapons, like the Until Discourse, which is based off of Han Solo's pistol, obviously, and the other weapons that are available, so I'm trying to think of all of them off the top of my head. I can't, unfortunately. Obviously, you have other weapons that are tied to the dungeon as well, which I'm going to pull up really fast. Hold on. Give me a moment to head to it. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, and unfortunately I don't know them all anyway. Also, yeah, it's fun to have Spire and Warlord's Ruins stuff done. What do I not have in Warlord's Ruins? Oh, it's the other armor, isn't it? Yeah, it's the armor. Yeah, we also have weapons like the Zealous Ideal, which... Stormtrooper Blaster. It's not quite correct, but it's close enough. Obviously the High Tyrant, Bitter End, Conspiracy Honed, Voltaic Shade, Stolen Claw. That's a sniper rifle?
Phylax found fame at Twilight.
But, yeah, just generally speaking, I really love this thing. It's so fun to use. Like, obviously, if you tap your throw button, or your, at least for me, it's right trigger, you do just a general, like, throw, and it kind of tracks enemies, hits them all, does all that. I have a hand cannon order already. Nice. And then, obviously, you have your normal swing. If you do You do a heavy, which does a lot of damage. It is genuinely a lot of damage. I'm actually going to quickly swap on to a hand cannon since I do have that now.
They say
And then obviously if you hold it, it will go in a straight line and then return back to you, but it'll actually go, I think, near infinitely until you hit something. And overall, this thing is amazing and very fun. The mission overall was was awesome. And I think the fact there's multiple ways of doing it, as well as the fact that there is just generally so much going on, that mission is so fun. As well as, I'm not sure if you saw that, when you block, you do a cool fucking Obiani thing in episode 3, and it's so fun. And overall, this thing has so much customizability, and it's like, oh god, they're gonna make fucking bank with more customizable hilts, and overall, and more crystals, stuff like that. I really think the crystals choices right now are great, but if they do like a color changing one that's like rainbow, that's gonna make people fucking froth at the mouth for multiple reasons. I'm personally a fan of pink. I'm probably gonna go for pink and or the dark saber, because fun fact, I own a actual proper replica lightsaber. It is technically like a generic hilt, but it is a, like, I believe it's NeoPixel, in the sense that it has multiple functions, and I usually keep it on Kylo in red, because I like the crackle of Kylo's lightsaber a lot. And I do really hope that we do get some more actual themed blades, and not, like, themed Star Wars blades, as opposed to just blades that are tied to D2. Also, we have a Reefborn one, we have this one that's very almost high stasis-y, and then we have the Golden Age one, which is the one I typically use. I just want to use this one for a little bit for a change. And obviously the default's very nice. But overall, I think the lightsaber is probably the best part of this DLC, if only because it's so cool, man. Obviously, the new machine gun, Luzaku's... Ow. I forget what it's actually called. It's something of Luzaku. Power. Service of Luzaku. This one. This thing's amazing. I haven't really used it personally, but I've seen it used. It is so fun. Heirloom, the new combat bow. It is a heat weapon, and it is tied to the dungeon, as you can see. It is the new dungeon weapon, and it's basically Chewie's crossbow, and then obviously the practical blade is right here. I was hoping there would be at least one more exotic weapon. I'm a little disappointed, but at the same time, I think what we have is fine. I think if they were to make a new heat-based weapon, that would be a new a new exotic. I would love to see Jango's pistols, or alternatively Princess Leia's pistols, and have it be, this is something I've always said, give us a dual-wield exotic, please. It would be so cool. I would love to see Jango's pistols, or just generally like one of the Mandalorian pistols. Because we have Mando Sniper, the one-shot sniper. It is insanely good for damage, if you're curious. So I would love to see more heat-based weapons that are more themed around Star Wars stuff. Even then, give us some more unique weapons, too. I'd love that. But, yeah, that being said, overall, Star Wars DLC, solid 9 out of 10. Very small critiques about other things that I wouldn't really have much issue with. And then, other than that, still an amazing DLC all around. And I'm just excited to see more, and I really am excited to do the dungeon. I'm going to be hopefully doing that at some point with my fiance, if not just general friends in my clan. Hoping sooner rather than later, anyway. I'm hoping to have that up before the new year. And get the run in before the new year and have the video up before the new year. As for other review-based content I want to talk about, obviously I'm going to be trying to do the Astro Lore Easter egg. I've done one attempt of it. That boss is fucking got hands. And I also want to do a review on Halfton Hotel. That should be going up before the end of the year as well. Other than that, I have other review-based content to be waiting until the end of wait until next year, as well as other pieces of content that will be generally in next year. So that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you guys want to see more videos like this one, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you guys in your lives for the rest of the make. Everybody, stay safe, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Scrap!